Hello, this is Deborah Vogue, and today is September 13th, 2013. Welcome to our first ever Advanced Brilliant Learning Community Google Hangout. It's a technology experiment that Stefanie Frank, our guest expert, and I decided to try today. And I'm really glad that you're here to join us. I know some of you are going to join us on video, some of you are going to join us on audio, and some of you are going to just join us in the recording. One thing I want to let you know in advance is that I'm going to get a phone call in 20 minutes from my son's school nurse. So at that point you'll see me, I'll try to go on mute, I don't know if I'll be able to. You'll see me take that call and just make sure everything is okay with my son, and then I'll be right back. So usually I start our Advanced Brilliant Learning Community talks with a meditation of some kind or an activation, and I was going to skip that. I don't know why, but I don't think that's a good idea to skip it because I think we can all use it. So, before we get started, let's all take a moment to, if you want, if you're in a safe space, close our eyes and take 3 slow, deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. Here's the first one. Beautiful. So if you're not moderating this conversation or the guest speaker in this conversation, you can keep your eyes closed and just listen if you want. But Stefanie and I are going to open our eyes. Stefanie is one of my very closest friends and one of the women entrepreneurs in this world who I admire the most. I'm going to give you just a little introduction about her. By background, she grew up in Nevada, and she is an attorney, and she worked in construction litigation for many, many years, and then she decided to go off and start her own business and her own practice, which has evolved over the years to now she works with people, often attorneys, but not necessarily, people with brilliance-based businesses who want to bring out their unique content and use it on the web and in the world to help attract their ideal clients. And today her talk is a brand new topic that she's going to share with us, and it's called Trusting Yourself to Make the Wrong Decisions, and wrong is in quotes. So I look forward to hearing from Stefanie. Thank you so much for coming today and speaking to us on video.
Thanks, Deborah. I'm so excited and grateful to be here. And today's the first day, this is the first forum where I'm presenting this idea, so it's not really a new idea for me, but it's a new idea presented. It's the first time I'm presenting it in this format, so thank you so much. I am so honored to be with all of you here live and those of you who are listening to the recording. So with that, I'll just go ahead and get into it. So last year in 2012, I took advantage of an incredible opportunity. I accepted a lottery slot into the Ironman World Championship 70.3. And I still get butterflies when I think about it, because it really was the opportunity of a lifetime to swim 1.2 miles, bike 56 miles, and run 13.1 miles of hilly Nevada terrain in 100 plus degree temperatures with the best and fastest professional, elite, and amateur triathletes in the world. And at the time I applied for the lottery slot at the beginning of 2012, I wasn't a stranger to triathlon. At that point, I did take up the sport a little bit late in life, in my late 30s. I basically went from couch potato to a really short triathlon where I didn't even know how to swim when I entered it. It was crazy. That might have been my first wrong decision that I made in this context, and you'll see a little further as the story goes on. But by the time I applied for the World's Lottery slot, I had finished 3 triathlons of that same distance, which is called the half Ironman, or the 70.3. 70.3 is the total number of miles that you do in these monster races. So through triathlon, when I discovered it over the years, what happened was I essentially remodeled my body, mind, and spirit. So I just want to talk a little bit about sport in general and the vibrant a little bit about the sport in general and the sense of community that it really engenders, because in my first really super short race, the race where I didn't even know I was win, I was really racing. I was near the back of the pack because I was really slow and didn't know what I was doing. But what I really noticed in that race, in the bike and the run part, is that there was always someone there, another athlete passing me, who would say something like, "Good job," or "You're going to make it." You know, there was even a guy in swim. It took me nearly an hour to do the whole swim, which was like only 700 yards. But a guy saw me, he popped his head up out of the water and said, "Oh, it's not that much further." And so the community that the sport provides, that it has, is very inclusive, and that's what gave me the courage to go on and try for the higher distance, because I thought, well, I can totally get used to that type of support in anything. So I did. So my next move after that short race was I signed up for a race called Silverman, which was not technically, it was my first 70.3. So it really took 2 years from the day I signed up to the day I finally crossed the finish line in that race. And during those 2 years, I was changed inside and out. And I accomplished things that I never thought I would be capable of. Even after 11 years of lawyering and doing really well in my career, I was in uncharted territory. I became stronger than I ever thought I could. And to this day, 6 years after that, I can barely talk about Silverman without knowing that that race literally saved my life. Not long before signing up for Silverman, I had quit my I had quit my job as a litigation attorney, where I had worked in downtown Vegas before all the new renovation and innovation that's going on there now. For 11 years, I litigated cases for clients. It was an easy professional track to be on until it wasn't. I quit that job for many reasons, most of which were due to me just not being able to deal with this stress. Hey, Deborah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me? Are you hearing a lot of background noise?
I am hearing a lot of background noise. So can you hear me?
Not. Is it just me?
This is Deborah, and I'm in a noisy place. I'm going to see if I can mute my microphone.
Oh, thank you.
And hi, I turned off my camera and my microphone to see if that it would improve the sound quality, because your sound was going out a little bit, and Deborah's going to mute. So I think what we should do is you keep your camera on, and so we can all see you, and we'll turn our cameras back on when we're ready to talk to you, and that'll make all the bandwidth go straight to you, I think. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with this this technical experiment.
Yeah, I think it'll help that I figured out how to mute.
Okay, everybody mute. You're doing great, Steph. Keep going.
Okay. So I quit my law job for many reasons. The main thing that it culminated in was I just wasn't able to deal with the stress and the complaining, the whining, and the victim mentality that I had willingly adopted as a coping mechanism for the stress. So triathlon helped me work through all that, because, you know, when you're out there running or riding, the elements don't care what workout is on your schedule that day. The wind could threaten to blow you off your bike. The waves in the lake could scare the living daylights out of you, which they did many times. And the heat can feel so oppressive that you just openly start weeping during the run because you just don't think you'll be able to do it anymore. So triathlon taught me the answer to the fundamental question, how badly do you really want this? So when the creators of the original Silverman brought Ironman to town, a world championship, no less, I jumped at the chance to get a lottery slot to be out there in the unrelenting weather on that unforgiving course, racing on the same ground as the best in the world. No other sport that I'm aware of offers such an inclusive community. It's really about the process. Follow through and want it badly enough, and you'll discover parts of yourself that you didn't even know were there. So what does all of this have to do with trusting yourself to make the wrong decisions? That's where we're going next. So from 2006, when I first started the sport, to the championships last year, there were obviously other things going on in my life besides sports. In 2008, I started a writing business, as Deborah mentioned at the beginning of the call, because I knew that I wanted to use all of my skills that had made me a good lawyer. I just wanted to have more fun doing it. So growing a business was a real struggle for me. It was really hard, which I found incredibly ironic because the business I chose, or I actually felt like it chose me, was copywriting, which is persuasive writing, which is marketing, putting yourself out there. And as small, brilliance-based business owners, we have to become intimately familiar with that, and most likely intimately familiar with being a bit uncomfortable doing that, because part of that is making a connection so that people know, like, and trust us, right? So that they'll eventually want to buy our stuff or work with us. It's heady stuff. It's heartfelt stuff. It's all this stuff I wanted but wasn't succeeding at myself. So there I was, a marketer who was having a tough time marketing myself, putting myself out there. I did get clients, but for a while it was a slow, painful process, and one that was not supporting me financially. So through all this, I did triathlon, and I trained and I raced, and after Silverman, I completed 2 other half Ironman races, both under incredibly adverse weather and course conditions. And I knew beyond the shadow of a doubt that whatever I wanted badly enough, I could have. So I kept chipping away at the business. I got more clients. Still felt pretty hard. They say that starting a business is the quickest path to personal growth, and I believe them. So it went on like this for, the next 3 to 4 years. And then something struck me. So it really started with an email that I got from a client. A client who hired me to write a white paper for her and help her with some strategy and content for her new website. So she said in the email, "What you do so well for me is continue to remind me to listen to myself even more and trust that." Now, that doesn't really sound like the first thing you'd hire a content strategist for, does it? I mean, you hire a content person to write stuff for you, to help you with your website, to give you strategy suggestions, to help you make better sense of social media and SEO, stuff designed to help you meet your business goals more quickly. So I read that email, I thought, I have this idea that's been brewing for a while, and it centers around what happened to me at the World Championships. So that's why now is the right time to tell that story. So going back to Worlds, I trained for an entire year leading up to that race. And I had all the support in the world that anyone could ever want. My husband was there. My best friend, Deborah, who's hosting this call, flew out to see me. Had my friend Tony there. Everything was great. I was ready. I couldn't have been more ready. So we started, and the swim was great. And I'm a slow swimmer, but I'm a steady swimmer and a strong swimmer. So I got through the swim just fine. And then I got on the bike, and then everything changed. The World Championship, the bike course starts out at Lake Las Vegas, and there's this big hill that you have to climb to get up out to Lake Mead Parkway. And I started climbing that hill, and it felt 3 times harder than it had on my worst training day. And I had ridden that course many, many, many times. And so I thought, what in the hell is going on? And I thought, I probably just have to settle in and warm up, because typically it takes, about 30 minutes for me to warm up on the bike. So I tried to settle in, and I just started taking in my nutrition the same way I'd done it dozens upon dozens of times over the last year, to the point where it became automatic. So I did that, and I kept riding. And an hour passed, and another hour passed, and it felt like I was riding through quicksand, or it felt like I was riding through mud. I was mostly going the same speeds that I go in training, but everything felt just 3-4 times as hard. It felt crushingly hard. And it got to the point where I just wasn't quite sure what to do. So my husband and Deborah were out on the course, and I don't know, somewhere around past mile 30, I flagged them down, and I said, look, I'm done. I want to go in. Will you just take me in? And my husband said, no, I'm not taking you in. I said, what? What do you mean you're not taking me in? I'm asking you to take me in. And he's like, no. So they got in the Suburban and drove away. I was crying on the uphills. I was just sobbing. It was so difficult, and I didn't know why. And that happened twice again. Twice. 2 more times I begged my husband to just take me in, and he refused to. So I'm out there in the middle of nowhere cycling, and then I realized that a cop is following me. And in triathlon, in the long races, that's what happens. A cop will get behind the last person on the bike course, and that's how they know that they can start, cleaning up the course and taking the cones down, because this is the last person on the course. So I was like, that's it, I'm done. I pulled over, and I said to him, I'm done. I said, will you please call someone and, let them know that I'm done? He said, sure. So my husband, noticing that I wasn't on the course, came back, and once he saw me sitting in the cop car, he was like, okay, I guess it's over. He put my bike in the Suburban, and we walked away. We drove away. And you would think, after making a decision like that, that, everything would then just fall apart. Like, my normal modus operandi after quitting something, which is really what happened, would be that inner monologue that's constantly running through my head anyway would say stuff like, wow, you're such a loser. Wow, all those people were following you on Facebook. What are they going to think? They're just going to think that you're a loser. And I have been notoriously hard on myself through my whole life. And I know that a lot of women have that tendency. But really what happened after we drove away, first there was silence in the RV, in the Suburban, and there was also silence in my head. There was nothing. The voice was silence, and I felt nothing but complete relief and lack of judgment. And I felt nothing but lack of judgment from the 2 people who were with me. And let me tell you, I have never felt so free in my life. And that's because in that moment, in those defining moments right before I was aware of the cop and I pulled over, I trusted myself to make the absolute wrong decision and pull out of a world championship race that I had been privileged to be in. Just pull out. Just let it go. Just let it all go. And when I looked at the results online later that said DNF, meaning did not finish, I smiled, and I'm like, yeah, you're damn right. And so from that, I've learned and attempted to codify what I'm calling the cycle of self-trust. And the cycle of self-trust ideally should be operational at all times for you as a woman who wants to achieve great things. But where the cycle of trust can become super useful and supportive is in those moments where you're making an absolute wrong decision, like a decision that's going to look wrong on paper, or a decision that people aren't expecting you to make, a decision that you may even get judged for. So here are my points of the cycle of self-trust that I hope that you can take and apply to your life, your business, your sports, or whatever. So the first element of the cycle of trust is notice. And notice when whatever you're doing has just gotten so incredibly difficult to the point where it feels onerous, like it literally might crush you. Like it's something, yeah, that's normally hard and normally challenging, but this time it just feels so much harder, and it seems to have come from out of nowhere. And you can feel it in your body, mind, and soul. So just notice that, and then ask why. Ask yourself, why is this so hard? Why is this so hard right now? And let the answer come to you without trying to control it or fight it, because you might not like the answer. And then listen to the answer. What is it really? So in my case, out on the course, it wasn't feeling so hard because my body wasn't up to it. I was ready. And once I stopped, I was like, yeah, I'm normal. I have energy, because I had trained to go 70.3 miles and I had gone like 40. For me, it was so hard because up until that point in that big race, I wasn't willing to admit how tired I was about how hard 2012 had really been for me. I had to make some difficult business decisions. I'd had to make some difficult personal decisions. And I had kind of buried how hard it was, and how hard it was all of a sudden decided to show up on the course that day. So, and I listened. So then after you listen, decide, what do you really want? And when I say decide, at that point, I'm not really talking about intellectually. I'm talking about in the heart, in the gut, in your center of intuition. And for this type of decision, you may have to get really granular and just get in the moment and know. Get in the moment and decide what you really want. And really let it be all about what you want in that moment. In that moment, what I desperately needed was relief. I needed it to not be so hard anymore. I just wanted things to be easier. I wanted to be relieved of some burdens I've been carrying around for the last year. And so decide. And then assess how you feel immediately after making the decision. So when I turned and talked to the cop and told him to take me off the course, I was like, yes. Something opened up inside my body. I felt like, wow, I made a right decision. It was more than relief. There was a lot of relief, but it was the inner knowing that the decision was the right one. So, do you feel stronger or weaker? I felt so much stronger after. Do you feel like you're shrinking or expanding? I felt expansive. I felt like I had stepped outside of a box that I was supposed to stay in. In that case, the box was a race course, and I was supposed to stay in it till the finish. Another thing that's connected to this too, because seriously, I quit that race. Like I quit, right? So another thing that was going through my mind and heart was my past track record. I had finished 3 incredibly difficult half Ironman races before that. So the little voice that might have threatened to jump up and say, oh, you can't handle this distance, was instantly quieted. Because as women with brilliance-based businesses, we already have quite a track record. So you can lean on that and be supported by that. And then probably the most important thing is to follow through on the decision. So I got in the Suburban, everything was quiet, we were going away. The decision was made, I had to follow through. I had to be ready to deal with anything that came after, with any fallout that came. For me, there was no fallout. No one judged me that I knew about anyway. I had like hundreds of comments on Facebook that were supportive. Even if I hadn't though, I still would have had to follow through. Don't second guess yourself in these times. Trust yourself. And then when you get some distance, record what happens after. So it's been over a year now. And after I left the course, I also decided to stop marketing my business because what I was doing wasn't working. So I just kind of stepped out of that box too. And almost instantly when that happened, a bunch of new clients came in, through referrals, through relationships I've been building. And that happened again at the beginning of 2013. And by letting go, by making the wrong decision, 2 wrong decisions actually, who stops marketing their business? Well, I do. And it worked. So record what happens after in your mind. And it's also good to write this stuff down so you have a record of it. So you can go back and use the cycle again and again and again when you need to make a wrong decision, because that's what life's all about. That's what business is all about. And ultimately, when you employ the cycle of trust, you're able to be there more fully for yourself. You're able to be there more fully for others. And you're able to get more of what you want, like whether it's more revenue, whether it's a stronger body and faster race times, whether it's more time with your children. And it all goes back to the more you trust yourself too, the more people will trust you. That email from my client saying that I'm helping her to trust herself, that really went straight to the heart. And I couldn't do that if I didn't have absolute trust in myself to make right and wrong decisions. So that's where I'll leave it. Thank you very, very much. And if there are any questions, I am happy to answer them.
Thanks, Steph. The unfortunate part about putting myself on mute and turning off the camera was that you couldn't see me or hear me when I was applauding you. So I'm going to do it now. Yay, Stefanie! Because what you just said at the end, that you make time to reflect and record, I mean, that's exactly what you're doing. And taking the time to not just reflect for yourself, but to share those reflections publicly here in the Advanced Brilliant Learning community and in the next places you're taking this talk is huge. Congratulations. Deborah, thanks for turning off your camera when I asked you to.
Deborah, I love you. I'm serious. I mean, I don't see you that often, but thank you so much for being here. Is she? Maybe she's still on.
Deborah, that was for you,
I am still. I was muted.
Yeah, it's not so easy to unmute, is it?
I know. I'm not familiar with.
Deborah, what did you hear in that talk? What was it like for you to listen to?
Once I got through the logistics of doing this on my phone, so figuring out muting and video and all that. It was interesting because it's a story that I was peripherally familiar with, because I actually showed up that day too late, and I got to see that calm and how okay you were, without knowing so much of the detail about how you got there. It's really fascinating to hear the linkages between that experience and your business, because, well, I think we all experienced that. One of the things that I sometimes think about before, like I've been talking about maybe getting a job or maybe launching a business for 2 years now, and I feel like it's committing to get on a treadmill that you can't get off very easily. And that's kind of the image that came into my mind, that that relief that you talked about, that, you know what, I can step away from this and I can breathe now, and that's what's right for me. You have to know how many treadmills you can be on at one time.
That's a good statement.
And how far do you really need to be able to go? And you got really far and we're on lots of treadmills, and that is a huge success.
Oh, I'm so glad you took that perspective. Is so valuable. Yeah, just for many reasons, the treadmill metaphor is perfect for it. God. Because, like, if you're on a treadmill too long, your legs just start to feel like lead, and you start to worry you're going to trip. And but yeah, thank you so much for that valuable perspective. I so appreciate it.
I think also on a treadmill, you can see how far you've come, but you can't really, it's hard to celebrate it while you're on the treadmill because you're thinking about how far you have left to go before you can get off.
True.
That's so true.
There's this expression, this 12-step expression, stay on the train, the scenery changes. The scenery always changes. But the problem with the treadmill is the scenery does not change. So, and I know this from experience when I was training for my 5K last year. And I think that's what was so huge about what you did, was by choosing to get off that treadmill, that you were able to have a change of scenery. And that enabled you to come to the reflection that you've come to now, and to realize the success that you've had in your business now.
Yeah, and get more success more easily and quickly. Up until then, my business had felt like it was growing at a glacial pace. Mm-hmm. Glaciers are beautiful, but a business needs to grow faster than they develop.
Yeah.
Real business, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really picked up powerfully since then. So.
I think it's really interesting that the parallels between, this may happen in other aspects of life too, but whatever it is that you're doing for your physical health, for me, I've been doing yoga, whether it's triathlons, 5Ks, just how much perspective you can get on one aspect of your life from investing in another aspect. I know for me in doing yoga for 2 years, each time I achieve something there, like, hit a pose that I never in a million years thought I could, it helps me to think, oh, well, I could certainly do this thing that I need to do in my work or with my family or whatever it is. Like, it's so powerful to have, those other things in your life besides your work to help provide those perspectives.
Oh, absolutely. It's essential. And that also, it ties directly into a lot of what Deborah talks about with self-care as well. Any type of training or yoga, I see very much as self-care too. And yeah, a breakthrough in any area of your life can really apply across the board of your life. And that's, to me, why I've often told Deborah that triathlon is inextricably intertwined with my work, even though 2013 has been different for me because I've really taken a break from triathlon, and that's been good as well. Not for much longer, probably, because I miss it. But yeah, that ties powerfully into the part of being a brilliance-based business woman or brilliance-based career woman, where you've got to have some type of self-care, and that can lead to trusting yourself more strongly than you might have ever even thought possible too. I love this discussion.
Yay, and it's being recorded, so we can see it again. I'm so proud of us for pulling off the technology aspect, which in the big picture is nothing, but still, it feels satisfying. Whoops. I'm curious, Steph, any reflections you have about preparing and giving this talk to us, and how you feel about having done that, because I feel like that was just another important step on the journey of the whole story that you told. Okay, is it too soon to reflect on that a little bit?
No, this talk is I'm auditioning this talk to be part of a TEDx event that's being held in Las Vegas in December. And so this talk, giving it today, was probably the most nerve-wracking talk I've ever given in my life. But seriously, it's like the culmination of everything I've been working towards in the last, well, really since 2008. Like, my business officially began in January of 2009. So this talk, in many ways, is the culmination of all of that, those triumphs and all of the pain also that has gone along with it. Thanks for asking me that.
Why was it the most nerve-wracking, Steph? Was it because of the media that was going with it, or because of the content? What made it so nerve-wracking?
I think because it's
The screen has frozen. I'm going to turn my camera off. Steph, are you still there?
Deborah is still here, and I can hear Deborah.
Okay. And Steph is not still here. I'm going to turn off our recording, but keep the Hangout going.